What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Ontario Rat 1 in D2 steel. Really been wanting to get one of these on the channel, so I'm glad that I've got an opportunity here. I'll do some quick specs here and lay down the Mannix beside it so you can see. Trying to go pivot to pivot. I believe this folder, or this is definitely a larger class folder in terms of length. You know, we're talking about a pretty substantial handle. I want to say it's like a 5.5 inch handle, and then the blade is somewhere 3.6 to 3.8 inches. It's over 8.5 inches in total length. And I'm sorry that I give you approximate measurements, but that's part of the reason for the Mannix. The Mannix is 8 inches definitely overall in length, so you can see here the total length of the Rat. It's a pretty big folder. Really been wanting to talk about this for a long time, and I've been wanting to handle one of these on my own so that I could actually say whether or not I had the same opinion as the rest of the internet. So let me start off by saying I think the reason I put this off so long, because I've been aware of this knife for like, I want to say 3 or 4 years, and it's been hailed as pretty much the best thing you can get for, this was $37. And I think the reason I held off for so long was because I was afraid that it would be so good that it would shatter my justification for paying more money for what I perceived as a better knife. And so that really worried me. I think that wasn't at the front of my mind, but it makes sense that that's why I wouldn't do it. So I finally did. And I've got a lot of things to say about this knife. I think overall it's a great knife, but let me put it this way. If you have never purchased anything as expensive or more expensive than this knife, then you're gonna absolutely think that it's the greatest thing that exists. It's definitely gonna be better in cutting performance. Ease of use, coming in and out of your pocket, the fit and finish, I would imagine, it's great. You're definitely going to love it. But I have to give this from two different perspectives, to be honest about it. Now, from the perspective of someone like me or any other knife snob out there who has spent more money and has come to expect certain things, there are going to be some fit and finish things. There's going to be little wonky things that bother you. Now, functionally, I'll be right up front. Functionally, I have nothing bad to say about this knife. It is exactly as described online. It slices well. I've cut a few things with it. Haven't cut a whole lot, just some light cutting tasks. The flat grind of the blade definitely does the job. Ergonomically, it's fantastic. The jimping's in the right place. It is easy to disengage. The detent is actually dialed in really well, so I'll show you that. This is not an assisted knife for anyone not familiar with it. The detent is dialed in really well, and it's not gonna, I've got to shake it a little bit into place, but man, it's easy to disengage and engage as far as these thumb stud openers go. But very impressed with the whole, can I get it out of my pocket, open it with one hand, use it, and then retract it with one hand and put it back in my pocket? Absolutely, 100%. It passes that test. Love it. Now, let's get on to the critical, nitpicky stuff that I have to do. First and foremost, if you watch my unboxing video, I pulled this out of the box and I was like, wow, especially when it deployed. I had a little trouble finding the position that my thumb wanted to interact properly with the thumb stud, and I actually missed and started laughing. And then when I got it, it just, it exploded out. It was perfect. And it has been that way, exactly the same, in the last 200 to 300 times I've opened it over the weekend. I've been carrying this all weekend, opening it up, playing with it, and driving my wife crazy and using it for little things. And I'll tell you two things that really impressed me. Number one, that lockup is in the exact same position it was when I bought it. It didn't move at all. And number two, it didn't come with blade play, and it still doesn't have blade play. And a lot of inexpensive knives, if they don't have blade play right when you open them up, they're gonna after you open them a few times. So I had to do that right off the bat. Opening and closing it does not seem to have any effect on whether or not it has blade play, which leads me to believe that these are probably They've got Loctite on them from the factory, more than likely. And it also came centered, kind of. You can see here, by tip, we're centered. Now, what the heck is going on up here? You see what I'm talking about? How this liner comes out and it also kind of seems to be a bigger gap here. It doesn't really matter because, again, it's not rubbing and there's no play down here, so I can't like move the blade back and forth. And so it doesn't bother me in that respect. You know, functionally, this is just fine. Absolutely. But I got to looking at this a little bit more. And can you see what's going on with the liner here and possibly with the blade? Two things I've noticed. This is definitely centered by tip, but what that means is we've got different varying gaps on each side, and there's two different things causing the visually what is not pleasing right here. Number one, you're not going to be able to tell on camera, but the blade ground out to the tip is not perfectly even on both sides. You have one side of the blade that's ground a little bit thicker and the tip is not symmetrical. So they centered the blade's tip, but if they were to actually center the entire blade, this would actually be way over to one side. But is that a big deal? No, because most knives under 50 bucks are going to be like that. Heck, you know, a lot of knives under $100 are going to be like that. So that's not a big deal. It doesn't change its cutting performance. And like I said, you're not going to be able to notice it just taking a look at this blade. Whether we take a look straight down the tip, I don't even know if I can get my camera to focus like that. Probably not. Or straight down like this. It's only when you're looking at it and it's retracted in the frame. The other thing that I noticed is you can see on the left side here, about right here, the frame is actually bowed out where they made the bend for the lock to engage with the tang. Right here, it's not as noticeable. But when I push this out, when they made that, when they bent the frame so that the liner lock would engage properly, I think they pushed it a little bit too far this way. So you end up with this awkward, you see that bow like right in here? It's bowed out a little bit. Now, I don't know if they all come like that. I doubt it. I tried to look up some pictures online and I don't think they all come like that. I think mine's just a little bit wonky. But let me be clear about this. It doesn't matter. I thought about taking this thing apart and like, you know, hammering that frame out straight. And then I thought, well, now wait a sec. Is it actually hindering it in terms of performance or function? Is it causing an issue? You know, does the actual scale or frame look warped on the other side? No. Something I did do is take the pocket clip off and lay it down flat, make sure that it was flat and not, you know, wobbling all over the place, and it wasn't. So it's just the liner lock where they made that bend, right somewhere in there. They just, whatever happened, it just ended up bowing out a little bit. But it's not enough to affect the scale or how it feels in hand or how it functions. So I'm fine with that. I'm going to leave it alone. And anybody who, you know, is thinking about buying this knife, yeah, you expect some fit and finish issues. That's going to be the case. The blade is not going to be ground perfectly even and symmetrical on both sides. You know, I would expect, like I had a little bit of, that looks like hand oil on the scales. You see where it's just slightly differently reflective. It came like that. Whatever. You know, I mean, this knife, I don't know who said this. I heard this the other day on another YouTube video. It's not going to be winning any beauty pageants. And some people are going to like how this looks. Some people won't. But this is a working knife. This knife did not go on my dresser with my other nicer knives. This went in the junk drawer. And it's going to be the knife that I reach for whenever I need any household thing done whatsoever. Or if I'm in my backyard and I'm doing something and I'm going to make a cut with it and I'm literally going to throw it and have it stick in the ground until the next time I want to use it. I have no reservations using this knife. Very, very dependable cutting tool that is put together well. I trust it, and I'm happy with my purchase. But does it make me want to carry it over my Manix 2? Absolutely not. In fact, if anything, I was having a few beverages on Saturday night thinking about this, and if anything, it actually makes me want to carry this even more. It actually bolsters my love for the Manix 2. There is a huge difference in feeling of quality between these two. I'm very aware that this is not G10. This is nylon or plastic. I don't think it's FRN. I think it's actually just plastic that's meant to mimic the peel ply texturing of that textured G10. But there's a huge difference in how these feel. They don't feel the same at all. This feels like a much more high quality folding knife, and I'm very aware of that when I pick it up. Does that mean this has a bad feeling to it? No, definitely not. I mean, I still like feel like I'm holding a capable cutting tool, and I'm very happy with it. Especially that blade grind. My God, that is an awesome blade just for performing any types of cutting tasks. I was worried that it might be too thin. No, it's not. It's about this. It looks like it's the same thickness as a Mannix, even though it on paper shows it's like 0.02 thinner in stock. Whatever. So yeah, don't expect amazing things. Like if the fit and finish was perfect on this thing, and the blade was perfectly centered, and the blade was ground symmetrically, and the liners were perfect, and the lockup was, I don't know, the lockup is actually where I'd expect it. But if the action was a little bit smoother, and it made if it made a more satisfying noise when it fires out, you can hear that. It's just not quite as, it's a little bit plasticky. That's not a big deal. Functionally, that does not make any difference whatsoever. This is still an excellent knife. If you're on the fence about this and you've got the $37 to $40 it's going to cost you to get it shipped to your house, absolutely buy this. This is an awesome, awesome, awesome folder. I'm so glad that I finally have had this in hand and can experience it. I think it's an excellent choice for someone shopping in this price range, and I don't think there's anything out there that's going to beat it. I haven't handled the cut jack, but this just seems like an amazing choice, and I fully believe that it'll stand up to whatever you can throw at it. Here's the other thing that's cool: tip up, tip down, right or left-handed carry. They've got the holes milled out on all sides, so that's awesome. I haven't switched the pocket clip because I just don't really care. I just put it right back in at the same holes that it came out of after I took it off. Probably should have switched it, but it's really not going to spend a whole lot of time in my pocket, so I don't know that I care too much. Like I said, this is not G10, and there are some guys on the forums, I talked about this with the other day, and they swear that they thought that theirs was G10, but you can see on the side here, the material's not fibrous. G10 has that fibery texture. You can see there down towards the butt. That's what G10 looks like up close. The FRN will just be a solid one color, or not even FRN. This is just nylon or plastic, but that's fine. It's going to hold up well. You're really probably not going to be using this for anything that would cause damage to the scales anyway, so it's going to hold up just fine for what it costs. I know for a fact that the liner over here on the right side, the non-locking side, is a 420J2, which is budget steel, but it's steel. It's going to hold up. And then I also found out that the liner on the locking side is hardened. So that's appropriate, and I'm glad they took that extra measure. It seems to be doing its job just fine. Again, the blade, this is super ugly and weird. It almost looks like it was put together on accident, like they accidentally got a good design, but I think they knew what they were doing. Where your fingers want to fall, this ramp right here, absolutely, 100%. I love how that feels. This right here, people talk about using this like you can choke up on it. It works for that. I wish that it was a choil. It seems to be that there's space in there, and I think some people would argue, oh no, that's where the blade interacts with the stop back here when it's in the closed position. I think there's still room to have that done. If you look at a Rick Hinder XM18, that blade stop is also in that position, and it just interacts with the choil. So I think they could have done it here, but that's just me being nitpicky. It would have been really cool to see that. In any case, I'm really happy with this. Despite the wonky bow in the frame, this is cool. This is a great knife. It's got a ton of parts on it. If you want to take this thing apart, pivot, whatever's on the underside of that, I can't remember. Oh, I can see in there. It's probably just another screw. Yeah. And then you have 10 body screws on one side or the other. So it's going to be kind of a mess. They're going to be running all over the place, but you can take it apart. I've seen the inside of these. They're not complicated. If you need to clean it out, You know, if you really need to take it apart, you can, but this is an open body pillar construction, so you can just blow it out. I will give a major thumbs up for the pocket clip. That is an excellent design. It mimics your standard Emerson or Benchmade 3-hole pocket clip, which means the clip is super modular. If you snap this, you're not going to... Where am I pointing? Right here. If you snap that, you're not going to have a problem finding a replacement pocket clip. They're all over the place, and you can get dressy ones, or you can get ones just like this. I prefer it just like this. That divot right there and how the pocket clip and this nylon interact with your pants is awesome. It slides in and out just fine, but it's also secure and doesn't feel like it's going to be falling out. This detent on here is both light and heavy. It's not going to come out. I mean, I'm not going to whip the knife out. That's pretty impressive, but it's perfect for deploying. So I'm really impressed with the detent on that and how it's actually really fun to deploy and put away. I found myself doing that all the time, which created a good test. You're gonna really dick up your thumb though. Definitely these manual thumb stud openers that have a good dialed in detent are really going to mess up your thumb, and then constantly disengaging the liner, you're going to mess up your hands. But that's not normally what you do with a knife, so nothing to worry about there. Overall, excellent. Just keep the fit and finish things in mind that I was talking about. If you have not purchased this knife, whether or not you are a user who is traditionally buying less expensive knives, or if you're a collector / user who's traditionally bought $1,000, $2,000 knives, I think you should own this, because I mean, I'm going to beat the crap out of this thing, and I fully expect it to last for years. There's only a 1-year warranty on this thing, by the way, so after a year, whatever is done to it is done to it, and you're going to have to make repairs on your own. But I mean, this thing is set up to be really easy to replace parts. Those screws are going to be really easy to find. The washers are going to be easy to find, probably. The frame can be bent back out if you do damage to it. It's D2 steel, so it's not going to be the easiest thing to sharpen, but it's not going to be the hardest thing to sharpen either. It's a semi-stainless steel. It's going to hold an edge well. We didn't really talk about that. This is not CPM D2. CPM D2 is a whole different monster, but this is regular old D2, which is excellent. Probably the best thing you could ever... In fact, yeah, it's the best thing you're going to get in this price range, period. And it's by a long shot, too. Way better than Aus-8, the standard steel this comes in. So, if you're interested in this, this is the large version. The small version, I want to say, is about 75% of the overall size. So, if you want a smaller one, it's exactly like this, just a little smaller and a little tiny bit thinner. Keep that in mind. Very good impressions of this. Just keep in mind some of those things. Don't set your expectations too high. And if you're afraid this is going to knock something that you love out of your pocket that's more expensive, it won't. I mean, I might carry this over, if I've got a $60 knife that I kind of like, yeah, it might knock that out of your pocket, but it's not going to knock any Griptilians or Mannix 2s or paramilitary 2s out of your pocket. Excellent knife, though. Throw it in your truck, throw it in your junk drawer, your toolbox, your tool bag, whatever you want. I think it's going to hold up well. So that is pretty much it. I'm sure I'm going to watch this and there's going to be something I'm like, why didn't I say that? I always do that. But that's going to be pretty much it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you were entertained by it. If you did, please leave a like. And if you'd like to check out my other content, I do have both expensive and inexpensive knives that I either do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy that content, then subscribe to my channel and turn that notifications button on, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks, and have a great day.